This is Covering the Spread, part of the FanDuel Podcast Network.
This week in the NFL seems to be defined by weird vibes, whether that be the Colts coaching situation, the Buccaneers, everything going on with them, the Chargers, whatever's going on with them. We've got the stuff with Josh Allen. It's a very weird week on tap, and it's hard to know how much should we care about strange vibes? How much should we care about all this stuff going on? We're trying to break that down and get you some profitable bets based on all that by talking to Ryan Williams, who's going to preview the biggest games of Week 10 and get you set for his favorite bets of this week at FanDuel Sportsbook. This is Covering the Spread right here on the FanDuel Podcast Network and numberFire.com. My name is Jim Sanas. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire.com, joined here once again by Ryan Williams. Check him out on Twitter at RyanAlexander_W. Ryan, interesting week on tap this week. How you doing today?
Oh yeah, we're doing good, Jim. We're feeling a little weird about Week 10 as well. But that's why we're here, right? We're here to dissect the things with the people, to give them some insight into where they should be placing their money this week. So we got an interesting week where this is the most teams coming off of a bye as well. But yeah, like you said, there's just some ugly situations that are happening, and especially with being, past the midway point of the season, we can see injuries really start to take a hold. We're just past the trade deadline, so we got teams settling in. But there's some interesting stuff that we can discuss.
We might have backup quarterbacks in Buffalo, Los Angeles, the Rams, Arizona, potentially with Kyler Murray now on the injury report. It's a weird week. We're going to break it down and try to get you some winning bets out of it in just 1 second. But first, a reminder to make sure you are subscribed to Covering the Spread wherever you get your podcast, because our college football week number 11 show with Dr. Ed Feng is already up, breaking down his favorite bets of week 11. And also, we did take a quick look at the World Cup. Ed runs his own numbers for World Soccer. You can find all those at thepowerrank.com. We broke down his rankings, what it means to the betting markets, and much more. We'll talk more World Cup with Ed going forward. So get that by subscribing to Covering the Spread wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also find all these shows up on the FanDuel YouTube page as well. Now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Try out features like same-game parlays, play your way, and bet on more than just the final score. Wager on everything from touchdowns, total yards to catches, all on an app that is safe, secure, and super easy to use. So sign up today for your no-sweat first bet. Make every moment more this season with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. In Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In Connecticut, 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. In Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. In Wyoming and Kansas, 1-800-522-4700 or in Kansas, ksgamblinghelp.com. In Louisiana, 1-877-770-STOP. In New York, 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Or in Tennessee, call the red line at 1-800-889-9789. Now, we'll start things off in the Week 10 discussion by talking about those odd situations, the bad vibe spots, because I think the primary catalyst there is the Colts. We'll talk about them as like the example here. They fired Frank Reich. They hired Jeff Saturday, who is not on the coaching staff. They don't have a guy who's called plays previously. And in the process, the spread went from 5.5 to 6.5, back to 6, and it's now back to 5.5. So I want to ask you how you handle these situations, because my numbers were not showing value at 5.5, but were at 6.5. And I didn't bet it because I was confused about how to handle this. But I want to ask you, how do you handle teams when there's just a massive level of stink around them, or do you just avoid it entirely?
Yeah, it feels like a void entirely. And the only reason I say that is just because how the Raiders have been playing. I mean, if this was another team on the other side that we could trust, probably the line would be different, right? Because
Right.
you're seeing the money that's coming in. The money and the bets are all over the Raiders at whatever the line is. And that's because the Colts right now are dumpster fire. And this could be, maybe Jim Irsay's behind the scenes pulling the strings and being like, yeah, we want to get, a top 3 pick so that we can get our franchise quarterback back, because we know that they haven't had great success at the quarterback position outside of Peyton Manning, who's carried the team or carried the franchise. But yeah, it's just an ugly look. I mean, when you're talking about bringing somebody in from outside of the building, we don't know how the coaching staff is going to rally behind them. You got the backup quarterback who's starting, a young kid. They don't have any offensive coordinator right now, as I take it. And so when you're looking at this line, it's like, you want to really lean on that Raiders side, but how can you trust the Raiders? I mean, they've been a dumpster fire pretty much all season long. So it really makes it tough for me. I'm gonna bet side of probably the total and bet the under, and just expect this to be an ugly game. The Raiders haven't been able to, show any offensive life outside of the first half, maybe the first quarter. They've come out swinging a couple times and then have laid flat. So I just look at this situation and it just reeks of stink to me.
Yeah, I think that's kind of why I stayed away. And like, there were spots earlier this year where I was betting on teams that had bad vibes, and it was to mixed results. But so I'm not totally against it, but I think this one is just a lot of unknowns. Now, there are people who can quantify the value of play callers and kind of find ways around that. Drew Dinsick, whale capper, he works for NBC Sports Edge now, but also the Deep Dive podcast. He has numbers that quantify play callers. And so, you can kind of use that as a crutch if you've got access to that. I don't have that advanced level, so I can't do that. But there are people who can do it. I'm not there. So I think that I'd rather, in general, my default is I'd rather make no bet than make a bad bet. So that's where I wound up here as well. I've actually got this as a pretty efficient line now at 5.5. I got a 5.4. So if it's an efficient line before accounting for that stuff, I'm just going to stay away and, be okay with that and have a little bit less of a stress on my plate when Sunday rolls around. Let's talk about some actual games here. Let's go out to Munich for the Seahawks and the BUCS. The BUCS 3-point favorites here. Total is 44.5. And we did see the BUCS rally to top the Rams, which was good for me because I had their money line. So I was very grateful. Thank you, Tom. Was there enough though for you in that game to think the BUCS are fully back?
There was enough. I looked at this line pretty intently when you sent the notes to me, and I'm kind of figuring out where things fall for myself. And I think initially I really wanted to lean BUCS here because they are getting 3. It's a key number. You're looking at how this team just rallied behind Tom and everything that was said in the post-game press conferences, and you could tell that just the monkey off the back, the weight lifted off the shoulders. It seemed that way. And you look at the Tampa Bay defense, and I know they've had some secondary injuries, so to speak, but this will be one of the toughest that Geno's faced in a while. He's had the chance to go up against some really cupcake defenses there that have led to and he's even made mistakes in that regard. But it is a neutral field, right? They are going to Munich. From what I can read through the tea leaves and whatnot, there are a lot of Seattle fans that are in Germany who are planning to be at this game. So it could be, the 13th man for Seattle showing up there. And I think the thing about the Seahawks is, the adversity. Like we haven't seen the BUCS be able to just go out there and like really be stellar, right? Like it's coming down to the last play, and the guys are dropping passes. I mean, really, this has been a plaguing them all season long. So if things go Seattle's way to kind of start this early, like I think that they can just, ride with this and have the lead and really force Tampa Bay and Tom to have to do something on the offensive side. So, Geno, even with the mistakes that he made, last week, I think he, through the pick six or the 2 interceptions late, he was able to rally behind that, and he's still able to get these double-digit leads. And he's got the backing of Pete Carroll, who's defending him in the media. The team has really rallied behind him, and it's a Geno resurgence, Geno renaissance. So I'm going to Seattle as we've been doing the past couple of weeks and taking the points.
Yeah, I think I am too. Now, I haven't bet this yet because this is one that moved overnight and moved into a zone where I actually was showing value because it was pretty efficient, leaning towards Seattle. But then it moved overnight and the money line got to plus 130. And when I look at the model I trust, that actually has this as being a pretty tight game. It's the BUCS favored by 1.05, so it's still the BUCS favored, but I've got the Seattle win odds with about 3.2 percentage points of value relative to their money line. So I think I kind of want to take the money line. I have not yet. Because again, this didn't pop up to this morning. I was getting ready for this podcast. I didn't have time to. But I think I might wind up doing it and taking that Seahawks money line at plus 130, just because the stuff you mentioned. Like, we know that Todd Bowles wants to stop the run. So maybe he takes out Kenneth Walker and that could neutralize that. But they've got Tyler Lockett. They've got DK Metcalf. Geno's playing well, even when those guys have been banged up, and now they're healthier than they have been. So
right.
Maybe it's dumb, but like, I do feel like I want to take the Seattle money line at plus 130, given that my numbers are showing value. My 2022 only model is not surprisingly also showing value in Seattle. I think that was kind of a given. But the one that has fire in there as well is also showing value on them. So I think when we have both those things converging, and I like betting on Geno Smith, I think I am going to, after we're done with the show, probably go ahead and take that plus 130 money line on Seattle, because I think that's long enough where I feel pretty good about it.
Right. And you're looking at this game and you're thinking, I mean, I think I can talk myself in a way that the BUCS win by 3 in this game. But, if you take the BUCS side, then you're looking at a void bet. You're looking at push. Right. You need them to win by 4. So I just don't know if I'm willing to put my money on that quite yet. They got to show us a little something more. So, I mean, the Rams was good to see,
sure,
because it got them that win and put them in that column. But the Rams have been an absolute dumpster fire all season long, and going off of the high of winning the Super Bowl. So I don't know how much we can invest in that situation.
We're just back on Geno again, man, and it doesn't feel that bad. Geno. I'm not going to lie. It doesn't feel that bad. I'm pretty excited about it, but we'll see how that one goes. Let's go now to the Vikings at the Bills. Obviously, the big storyline here is Josh Allen's health right now. As of Thursday morning, Bills 3.5-point favorites. Total is 43.5. And I'm guessing, based on this line, the bookmakers are assuming there's about a 90% chance that Josh Allen does not go. Like, this is kind of a hybrid line of 90% Josh Allen, 10% Case Keenum. That's kind of my read on it, at least. But it seems like he's probably not going to play. So with that assumption in mind, are you seeing any value in these markets with where things stand right now?
Yeah, this is another one that I kind of toyed with a lot, because I kind of wanted to take the Bills side in the off chance that they do let Josh Allen play. I mean, the AFC number 1 seed picture is still open, and off of that loss against the Jets, like, they really, you could say that they're just going to let him get healthy for the postseason. That's what it's all about. But at a certain point, I think home field advantage really meant a lot to Buffalo, as we saw last year, that they really want to try and play these games at home and not be going on the road. They have more success. Sean McDermott has not won a road playoff game, I believe, in his career. So coaching Buffalo. So I'm really interested in that. Plus, you get the Case Keenum, Stephon Diggs narrative of going against the Minnesota team. Like, everybody is riding high with Kirk. I believe the numbers that I was seeing were astronomical. Yeah, Vikings are getting 86% of the money, 65% of the bets. And that just it just feels gross, because this is still a team. Like, Case Keenum is a competent quarterback. Like, we've seen him, get teams to the playoffs. He knows the system pretty well, and they could really scheme things up on the other side that can make things difficult. It's not an easy place to play in Buffalo. So do we get, classic Kirk where he's just going out there and not making anything happen? We know this is a tough matchup for Dalvin Cook. I am interested also to see where the secondary and honestly front seven pieces come in for Buffalo. I know Milano's been on the injury report. Poyer's been on the injury report, and is Trey White coming back? So this is one where I'm holding pat right now, but I do think that if I had to make a bet, I'd probably put it at the 3.5 right now, just because of how the public's feeling on Minnesota. And they're 7-1, but like who have they played, right? And I know that sole losses to Philly, people are riding with that, but this Bills team is structured in a way to be able to kind of take advantage of spots like this with Josh Allen being out for one game.
Yeah, the Vikings are a weird one because this would be the fourth backup quarterback they faced. And you could say, oh, well, that means they're totally fraudulent. But it's important to remember that like one of those backups was Andy Dalton. And like he's become the starter because of how he's played. He's been better than Jameis so far this year. So that's one situation they faced. So like the stat about them facing a lot of backup quarterbacks is flawed. I think I would say I would expect Matt Milano to play this week. You mentioned that he was on the injury report. He didn't play last week, but he did get in a limited practice on Friday of last week and then again on Wednesday this week. So Milano's probably going to play, but I think that the Vikings will probably be able to move the ball decently well on the ground here because Milano played in that Green Bay game. And Green Bay's rushing efficiency there was astronomical. I don't know why they kept running it outside of the fact that like they couldn't throw. I think the Vikings will be able to move the ball here better than a lot of teams have been able to against the Bills, just because of seems like whether it be injuries piling up or something else, it seems like there's been a bit of a regression from the Bills defense. It's not enough where I want to bet the Vikings plus 3.5. I got their money line plus 270 on Monday when the Allen reports were started coming out. So I'm going to stand pat and just let that ride. But I think that even if I didn't have that, I'd probably just stay away. Because like you said, Keenum is competent. We saw that last year with the Browns. He was okay in commanding that offense. We've seen him in other spots before. He's not a total nothing. And Stephon Diggs got that the revenge game there as well. So I think for me, it's a stay away as well. I am curious to see how the Bills play here, but I think it'll be one where I'd rather just watch it rather than have any action on it personally.
Fair enough. I do like the under as well in this game, under 43.5, regardless of who the quarterback is, if it's Keenum or if it's Josh Allen in a limited fashion. I just feel like the way that this is kind of shaping up, we're getting Buffalo weather, kind of just one of those things where I think both of those teams will just go out, really try and, be physical, grind it out. I could see it really being an under game.
Yeah, and if Josh Allen does play, he's not going to be full Josh Allen. I think we can say that pretty definitively, based on the reports so far. Let's move now out west to talk about the Chargers at the 49ers. This is the Sunday night football game where the 49ers, 7-point favorites, total is 45.5, and the 49ers had the bye week, get Deebo Samuel healthy, get Christian McCaffrey fully integrated. But this is also a pretty big number at 7 points. So can they cover a big number against a frustrating Chargers team?
I'm back on the Chargers bandwagon, Jim. These are the spots where you want the Chargers. These are the spots where you want the Chargers when they're getting points like this, and we can have, Justin Herbert, gunslinger mentality, just go out and try and win the game for them. This is also on prime time. With 7 points, this is not favor Jimmy G and Kyle Shanahan in times past. It will also be interesting. There's been a lot of talk that Joey Bosa is close to returning to practice. So we could get the Bosa Bowl in full, which will be the first time. I think that's just a fun thing to bring up. I don't know how much that necessarily means to the game, but I do think that means a lot for this Chargers defense when you're talking about getting pressure on Jimmy G and just one more element that they will have to worry about on that offensive line that really hasn't been all that stellar this year. I'm not sure what the numbers are, but just from the eye test, they've kind of struggled in getting Jimmy G some protection. We'll love to see if Keenan Allen, Mike Williams are coming back for this game. But again, I kind of talk about this all the time with the Chargers. Like, it really doesn't matter who's out there running passes for this team. Like, Justin Herbert will find a way to get these guys the ball. So I only think it helps this offense and helps that line. It's a solid number there at 7, even though that they're on the road, still staying in the same state. I'm going to go with the Chargers here.
Yeah, I did too. I took them on the Tuesday show, talked about them there, and I still feel good about it. It hasn't moved at all yet, but I think that I don't feel bad about it. We talked last week about how we were both on the Falcon side. You were smart. You took the spread. You pushed, and I took the money line like a moron. So my bad. But we were both betting against the Chargers there, and it was like, you had that fear of Herbert being able to overcome his situation. Now you look at the stats for Herbert on Sunday, his yards per attempt, I think it was like 5.4, and it's been just awful recently, but like, he still looks really good. So I think my concern always with taking a spread bet on a larger underdog, my concern is they fall behind, get a negative game script, and can't claw their way back to get, give me a possibility to backdoor cover. I don't worry about that with the Chargers. I feel like it might be better if they fall behind, because then Herbert can let it rip. Like, let this dude throw it more than 5 yards downfield. That's all I ask for. And the odds that happening are better if they're down. So I'm not asking them to go down. I'm just saying that, like, I feel confident in their ability to make up ground if they do fall behind early. I don't think a negative game script is a death sentence for them. So that's why I feel okay taking the +7, because I do think they can do that. Now, I'm assuming that I've already marked out in my model. I've marked out Keenan Allen, marked out Mike Williams. I don't think either guy will play. So this is under the assumption that they sit. I've still got this as a 4-point game in favor of San Francisco. And that has a boost in there for Christian McCaffrey as well. Like, I think he actually is a difference maker. And I did give the 49ers offense a boost as a result, but I can't get to 7. So you're giving me a push on a key number. 6 is a decently key number as well, and I get a win there. I get a win at 3. I get a win at the Chargers win outright. So I think +7 is the way to go. So, Ryan, we've both gone from betting against Los Angeles one week to betting on them the next, and I feel like both sides, it was the right play.
What can go wrong, Jim? What could go wrong?
What could go wrong, indeed. Let's open up the board now for you, Ryan. Where else are you seeing value across week number 10 at FanDuel Sportsbook?
Yeah, so we'll start it off in the afternoon time slot here. A team that has looked abysmal playing at home against a team that's coming off of a bye. A lot of narratives around this. Mike McCarthy's return to Green Bay. We're going to ride with the Green Bay +5 at Lambeau here.
Speaking of bad vibes, love it.
Speaking of bad vibes, exactly. So this is the biggest dog that Aaron Rodgers has been at Lambeau, is what I have seen. And everything is just pointing the picture to Dallas, right? Dallas winning. They're coming off the bye. It's Mike McCarthy's return. This is, everybody's talking about Dallas. Super Bowl could be representing the NFC. Everybody's excited for Dallas and Philly, that game at the end of the year. And you're seeing the money come in, on the Dallas side pretty favorably. But some of the bets, when you're looking at the bet action, it's just over 50% on the Packers. And I think that's because the sharps are kind of seeing it the same way. Like, this is a tough place to play. I think, we know that Green Bay fans are pretty loyal. They've had a rough time. I mean, the playoffs are probably out of reach, but Aaron Rodgers has been talking in the media a lot, talking about how he's a gamer, how he bets on himself, how he's still invested. And so, I think he's just going to try and will the team to win. Now, it is going to be cold here in Wisconsin. Green Bay, it's looking like, game time temperature of right around 30. We'll see if these Dallas boys, are ready for playing in this environment, right? Because they, it's been cushy for them. And if it could get, if things don't break their way, we can, see things. They've been frustrated, right? We could see Dak get frustrated. We could see Micah and the get frustrated there on defense. So I'm really willing to lean 5 here with the Packers at home this week. Also looking at the afternoon side of things, anytime that the Arizona Cardinals are on the road and getting points, I'm always looking at that. But that line has moved absolutely dramatically. Like, I think it was 6 when it opened. Then it was 3, and now it's 1.5. And it doesn't feel great, but I think that I think with how the Rams have been playing and Matthew Stafford's in concussion protocol, it just feels ugly. Like Cooper Kupp has not looked healthy the past couple of weeks as well since he popped up on the injury report. So I'm willing to take the Cardinals as well there too. And then Bears at home, because of course Bears at home going against the Lions, they're giving 3 points here to the Lions. But the way that this defense has looked and the way the offense has kind of been reeling here for the Bears as of late, like they cannot stop the run at all. So, I mean, they're rushing for like 200 yards and however many straight games that it is, it's absolutely incredible. So like get Montgomery, get Herbert, get Justin out there and really, stretch his defense out. I really think that they have something going here, and I'm willing to take the 3 points with them.
I want to go back to the Packers one because I talked about that game on Tuesday and I said, hey, my numbers are showing value on the Packers, but I don't want to bet it because I was worried about injuries and some key guys potentially getting ruled out. But honestly, their injury report Wednesday, despite it being like a CVS receipt, was encouraging because Christian Watson is in concussion protocol, but got a full practice in Wednesday, which I didn't think was like legal, which tells me that he probably had, it might have been an Amon-Ra St. Brown situation where he didn't actually have one. Because he had one in week 8 too. And I was like, okay, he might go on IR if he has one two games in a row. I don't think he had one based on that practice report. So Watson seemed like he's probably going to play. And then also Aaron Jones, his x-ray. So it seems like he'll play. He was limited on Wednesday too. So I have not bet this yet. I'm still hesitant because, again, the bad vibes. The vibes meter in the model is chirping. But I do show value, both in my model that has priors and my model that is 2022 only. Now, there's less value in that one. It has the Cowboys favored by 4 points there, but that's because the Cowboys are like a top 5 team in the power rankings in that one. I'm not sure if I put them there hand ranking them, but like, I don't mind it. Like they're kind of fun, but even there, it does like the Packers still relative to this spread. So I'm on board with you on that one. I have not done it, and I don't think I will. But I agree with what you're saying. I agree with the sentiment. I just I get the heebie-jeebies, and I wind up being a little afraid. So I'm a scaredy cat, I think, is the true takeaway here with the Packers. But I do really think that the logic you're using is correct. In this line is an overreaction to what we've seen in Green Bay.
Yeah, and just any given Sunday, right? Like we can't keep holding the pass against these teams, especially in a fashion like this when they're at home, and and really it's like I don't know if I would, as bad as the season has gone for them and as bad as it's gone for Aaron Rodgers, the 2-time reigning MVP, I'm not sure if I'm willing to bet on Mike McCarthy over Aaron Rodgers at this point in an environment at Lambeau. Like, I'm not willing to go there yet.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a good point as well. Mike McCarthy is still Mike McCarthy, still lurking down in there despite some good showings the past couple of weeks. All right, that is all that we have here for week number 10 on covering the spread, at least from the sides and total side of thing. We'll come back tomorrow, talk some player props with the JJ Zacharias and getting his read on this week's bets, some touchdown bets, some yardage bets, and get his read on those. But Ryan, before we talk to him, I got to say thank you to you for swinging by, breaking down your favorite bets. Stay warm, I guess, this weekend, apparently, up in Milwaukee. And good luck with your bets.
Oh, thanks a lot, Jim. Good luck to you. Yeah, we'll be huddled up in the park all weekend long. But good luck to everybody out there. And Jim, I'll catch you next time.
Are you going down to Chicago for the Bears game this week or no?
We are not. No, the tickets actually sold for a pretty decent price for what the Bears are playing right now.
There we go.
Right now it might be cash cow season as we get into November and December with the little kiddo on the way as well too. I got
exactly.
Be cautious about,
well, you can use
we're able to make
dollar bills as insulation to keep yourself warm in Milwaukee for this weekend. That is good.
Pretty much.
Alrighty, Ryan. Have a good weekend.
You too, man. You too. Have a good one.
All right. You can find Ryan on Twitter at RyanAlexander_W. I am on Twitter at Jim Sannes, JIMSANNES. We'll talk to you once again tomorrow to break down some player props for week number 10. This has been covering the spread right here on the FanDuel Podcast Network.